It's not direct. It's not direct fear of. It's not like a thinking process of I won't do that because I'm afraid of doing it. It's not like that. It's like an internal language which is unspoken, which has that sort of that battle, that duality in yourself, where one thing is trying to sort of figure out the other and topple each other, like brothers fighting, you know. And I don't know, the experience seemed only to be a sort of a viewer, a spectator of it, even though it's manifesting from me. So I want to take control of those aspects, that battle in my life of what I want versus what I truly want, and what I don't know. I was going to say what is expected of me in the world. I don't know about that for sure. If that's equally as important. I think I sort of want to find my place within me before I sort of want to find my place in the world almost. You know what I mean? Like I want internal acceptance before I dare to sort of, or internal achievement before I seek out external achievement. And I think for me personally, the exterior experience hasn't yet matched my expectations, and it's it's a combination of I'm thinking, are my expectations of life too high? Am I just not looking for what I'm looking for in the right place? Is what I'm looking for out of sync with reality? Do you know what I mean? These sort of stages of belief and or sort of doubting yourself. Oh, 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 oh my god. Yoga is like hugging your blood. A lot of illness is mental illness, which then manifests itself physically in your body. If you believe yourself to always be under threat and you tense up, your mind and your body start to work with each other, I guess, unintentionally hurting you, if you know what I mean. You're tense all the time. You get physical injuries, of course, but the sort of mental anxiety, I think, causes physical pain and digestion and flow of serotonin or vitamins. I don't know exactly, but that's the way it certainly feels. And I have found that as I've sort of sought to be more mentally healthy, stable, it's like, I suppose to some degree it's got better. I think sheerly awareness of these things is the first and probably most important part of it. I can sort of see myself more clearly to the extent that I'm hopefully not causing as much external. I'm not externalizing my angst, my any of these sort of feelings. Do you know what I mean? It's not hopefully interfering with how I'm speaking to people. I try to be rational and take a step back if those feelings arise and not to immediately express them. So trying to become more aware of the activities of me, because I kind of when I got sort of mentally unwell at its worst, it was pure conviction in the wrong things, and that really taught me to be able to sort of take a step back, and I kind of almost said, right, it all stemmed from, I guess, overthinking, thinking too much. That's the early stages of what it was like for me, because you find yourself constantly on in scenarios where you don't need to be on. Whether the sort of being on has become like a mental addiction, Um, but following that, the sort of furthering of the mental illness came from I don't know, almost trying to escape that, almost trying to get or the fear I had of it, or sort of how much it had worn me out, caused me to sort of, I don't know, take like dictator like control of my life. Um, or rather, it was like to at least appear that way, you know. Um, like I'm not going to put up with shit anymore, sort of thing. But when you're young and you're, I guess you just don't know better yet. I would be perfectly okay with the stages in my life if there hadn't been events that I felt responsible for that are negative, if you know what I mean. Um, I don't know if we all feel such like regret and remorse about previous things in our life, previous ways of thinking, ways of expressing ourselves. Because you know that way, or again, this experience of Stewart was behind it the whole time, but I don't know why I didn't interfere, and I think it's that internal experience. I've tried to get better since then to sort of speak the language of the internal Stewart, the peaceful Stewart, the consistent Stewart. Speak that language because before I was so caught up in what was happening in my life and sort of trying to you make everything a coliseum. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable, and you get so caught up in why am I thinking this and you're because you want to be better. It comes from a want to be better, but the results are not good if you're that stern with yourself. You become that stern with other people and in everything you do in your life, and it just makes you an unpleasant person. you know, which is a shame because the me underneath it is a nice guy and isn't that. Fuck man, life lessons. I try. I can't regret it to the extent of like I just have to get on with my life. I am aware of it totally, but living in shame and regret is not going to allow me to become healthier. I know the lessons. Man. But I can't spend every single second thinking about it, because it's just gonna kill you. You know what I mean? To live like that, there's no reason to. There's no reason to, as long as you learn the lesson. If you don't learn the lesson and forget about it, that's bad because you'll just repeat the same mistake. I know where I was, where I am. And I'm much more patient with, well, to an extent, with myself and the world. It's a mixture of sort of, I feel more patient, but at the same time, there's that kind of, I guess I know how I want to, I'm sort of starting to learn how I want to conduct myself in my life. And I'm at the stage now where I've sort of taken that step out the front door and kind of go, I want to go in this direction. But you can't, in that quest, demand that everyone around you be the way you want them to be. You can't, you're not a casting director in your life, if you know what I mean. You shall play the role of girlfriend, you shall play the role of boyfriend, you know what I mean. Reality isn't like that. Well, the reality is like a shit, like everyone plays that kind of game to an extent. Your role around the people you know, your role in society, your expectations of both those things, and the people you conduct yourself with. They have, I guess, from my seeing the world, I see that is something that plays a big part in people's lives. It did do in mine, and obviously will still do to an extent. I don't feel completely free of that. regardless of how badly I would like it, I suppose. But there is that conflict between entering and being very caught up in the story, the novel of your life, because it's fabricated. If you know what I mean. If you were to move to another city, we didn't know those people, and you didn't have to play the certain roles you think you did. You can become someone new. You know what I mean. So I think I want to sort of go to a different country in my own heart and my own head, and experience the freedoms of it's. You know, if when you walk down, say you go to Amsterdam or somewhere outside where you live, outside where you usually live and spend your day, you're looking at the architecture and listening to the people and smelling the air and really taking in the full experience. But when you come back to your hometown, you kind of switch that off a little bit because you're so used to it. You know, you don't see it for what it is. You don't see it for how it really is, because of your, I don't know, emotional and clamping onto those things, your memory clamping on those things. It's a very interesting thing, that, because I used to associate one thing with another. I remember thinking that if I drank Lucozade, I'd be a better person. Do you know what I mean? It's like commercially successful that for Lucozade, but you know, there was energy drinks, and then there was, I suppose, when you're a late teenager, booze. Then it's success in your career, and then it's marijuana, and then it's whatever it is you want in life. Oh, excuse me. And I think you kind of can't help but seeking that validation from the outside world that you are succeeding. Do you know what I mean? And this is where I don't know, that main battle happens, and that duality within is this sort of how I want to be perceived and how I actually want to be. And, you know, of course, all those should be the exact same thing, but you're sort of terribly afraid of coming across wrong, of someone else thinking this about you. You don't want to be that thing. And I think that by proxy, you most end up becoming that thing. You can't help it because it's on your mind all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's like self-hypnotising, you know? The negative part of you hypnotising the better part of yourself, you know? And it's funny to think of yourself again, even having the duality of having good and bad traits, you know? I'm exhausted in my head. If you've ever taken MDMA, there comes a point where the sort of overwhelming joy is beginning to fade, and what overtakes you is this need to know, don't go. The sort of reality you come back to, if the reality you come back to isn't good enough for you, you have a problem.